When we use the Paint Hair Follicles tool, what we're doing is setting attributes on each follicle using that paint tool. We can also set those attributes directly on individual follicles. So for example, if I select one follicle on my model here, I can open up the attribute editor and do things like control the color of just that one follicle. I'll open up the attribute editor, Control A, and it takes me to the follicle attributes. And if you scroll down in here, you will see per follicle overrides. And there's two types of overrides, dynamics overrides and render overrides. Scrolling down, you'll see render overrides. Let's look at the render overrides first. You'll see clump width and density mult. Clump width is the width of that particular follicle clump. And if I increase that to, let's say, a value of 5, then it's going to spread out 5 times as much. If I wanted to maintain the same number of hairs, then I need to reduce the density. So those work pretty simply. There's nothing much going on there. We can figure that out pretty easily. Then we come to color. If you adjust the color here, you won't see anything happen in the viewport because you also have to increase the color blend. And that's the amount that this color is going to mix with the diffuse color in the hair system. If I set it to 0.5, then we get a blending between this white color and the brown color in the hair system shape node. If I turn it up all the way to 1, then we get pure white. One thing you do need to know about this is that currently, if you adjust this color here, you won't see it update in the viewport, even though it's actually working. You have to wiggle this color blend slider in order for it to sort of update and wake up. So again, if you change the color to something like whatever, red or something like that, you won't see it update unless you adjust the color blend. And now it's actually updated. All right, so those are the render overrides. Those are pretty straightforward. Then we come to the dynamics overrides. And frankly, these are a bit problematic because most of the stuff in here does not work with NHair. Apparently what happened was when NHair was introduced, the follicle node was not updated to reflect that. So a lot of this stuff only works with the classic hair and doesn't work with NHair. If you turn on override dynamics, you will see a lot happen. First of all, the clump became a lot smaller and it became pointy. Well, the only thing that really works in here is clump width scale. And I can increase that clump width scale so that it doesn't come to a point. However, there is an issue, again, with Maya that this ramp doesn't update. In order to see it update, we have to scroll down to the clump width mult and adjust that. Additionally, in order for it to equal the width that we had before, it can't be a value of 1. So if it's just set to 1, we're going to get a tiny little clump instead of the larger clump we had before. So this is just kind of problematic. This clump width mult has to be increased up to a value of about 2 or so. And this density mult needs to be reduced in order to get the same general number of hairs per clump that we had previously before we turned on dynamics overrides. So the only thing that's really useful in here is the ability to adjust the clump width on a per follicle basis. So we can have some of them come to a point and some don't. But again, if you adjust that ramp, then you also have to wiggle this clump width mult slider in order to see it update. So in summary, if you want to adjust properties of individual follicles, the render overrides work fine. The dynamics overrides really don't work except for this clump width scale. The rest of these attributes, such as stiffness scale and attraction scale, will only work with the classic hair system and not with NHair currently.